Sometimes things are not as they seem. They may look one way, but in reality they are actually something else. How do you do, fellow humans? I am Jerrel and I am a human. Today I'm going to explain the Metroid Mile. And this is a very clever solution to loading the in-game assets. So how video games work is the video game assets that are currently needed by the game console are loaded into the memory, the RAM, which stands for an animal with big horns, and your game console or your computer has a bunch of little RAMs inside of it. And when you see your console has like 2 gigs of RAM, 3 gigs of RAM, 4 gigs of RAM, that just means there's like 4 or 5 little of these furry, the quadrupedal animals running around inside your game console, and they can only carry so much of the game assets. If you try to load in too much of the game assets, the RAMs won't be able to carry all of it, and then they'll go to sleep, and then your console will stop working. And so we need to make sure as game developers we do not try to load in too much of the game assets onto the backs of our RAMs. So how games in the past used to do it is use loading screens, and the game would stop. We would have a screen that would just say loading. But around the late 2000s, humans became loadophobic. And I'm not. I wouldn't be, you know. I'm a very open-minded human, and so I'm not loadophobic. I'm not sure if we're allowed to shame people who are loadophobic. I don't know if we're at that point in society yet, but I'm not. So, you know, don't judge me. And I think that it's okay to have a loading screen, but since humans became loadophobic, we have seen more attempts from developers to hide the process of loading. This is one of the most clever methods that I've seen. Normally we have characters that are sort of shimmying through there's like a hallway and a bunch of stuff stacked in the hallway, or like a crack, you know, in a canyon, and then the characters are just shimmying left and right, and they're kind of going, I'm gonna deliver some echoey dialogue in a very melancholic way while I shimmy through this little hallway, and all you can do is move left and right. Developers have tried to hide loading in segments like that, and that I find that annoying and obnoxious. This, however, is pretty cool. The difference is it's energetic, it is in context, and it doesn't feel forced or artificial. And we're going to look at the video from Nintendo Life and very quickly explain what's happening here. This is the Switch on the left, the Switch 2 on the right. You can see the Switch 2 has finished loading, but the Switch is still loading, and it keeps going. And I've seen people say, oh, the hallways are longer. It's funny, you know, obviously it's just a joke. What is actually happening is the camera cuts for this segment are hiding the fact that Samus and the camera are being pushed back. They're being, well, not being pushed, they're being warped. They take the camera and Samus and they warp the position to an earlier point in the hallway. So, if this, let's see here. What do I have? What do I have that I can use here? Let's see. Oh, this is one of my favorite ties. Let's see. Okay, let's say that this is the length of the hallway, and we have Samus. Samus is indicated by this. And as we have the loading screen play out, Samus is moving along like this. But what happens when Samus gets to the end? This isn't a non-Euclidean room. This is not the back rooms. It's not going to continue on forever. What happens is, on the camera angle change, Samus's position is warped back here along with the camera, and it's seamless. Because of the camera angle change, it hides the fact that they've warped her position back, so she can keep looping back. This is the Metroid Mile. It hides from you what you don't need to see while convincing you that something can continue on infinitely. But really, it's actually just looping over and over and over again until all of the assets are loaded in. And I find this very clever. This is a cinema technique. It's cinematographic. I'm going to say cinematic. And what I really like about this, it's using these cinematic techniques to mask that in a very clever way. We have Samus sort of reaching the edges of the scene. Obviously it's cropped, right? But she moves across the camera frame in a way that makes it feel like she's continually making progress. She doesn't stay static in one position in frame. She's constantly moving. The camera's panning in and out. It feels dynamic. So the developers clearly have an understanding of cinematic techniques, visual expression, how to convey an idea, and how to use hardware limitations in a creative way. And this is just brilliant. So that is how they've implemented this loading screen. It's so brilliant. Well done. I wonder if all of you out there are enjoying the game. I would be interested to hear from you. If you would like me to discuss this topic further and to discuss the game further, please do let me know. That's all I have to discuss today. And I hope you've enjoyed hearing an explanation about the Metroid Mile. Take care of yourselves. Be well.